Hey, welcome to ProTech Coach. Today we're going to be talking about labels in our continuing series on taking the field with Gmail. Labels are one of the two most powerful things in Gmail that I find to help me organize my what would otherwise be email overload. Let's take a look at them and how to use them and see if you agree. All right, let's start off by doing a little overview about labels. That's the topic we're going to be covering in this segment of Taking the Field with Gmail. One of the cool things about labels is that you can apply multiple labels to a single piece of email. So if you remember from earlier in the series when we talked about the two main containers in Gmail, there's the all mail container, which as you would expect contains all mail, except there's another container called spam. We're not going to be talking about spam tonight. So you've got a piece of mail that comes in that obviously goes into your all mail bucket, and when it first arrives, it also is applied a label called inbox. So that will show up in your, you guessed it, inbox. But you can additionally apply other labels to it. So if it's a family-related email, you can have a label called family. If it's work-related email, you can give it the label of work. Same with play. And this makes them superior to folders in that if you're going to store, let's say you wanted to have a family, a work, and a play folder in a traditional email program like Outlook or Thunderbird, you would need to drag an email from your inbox to, let's say, the family folder. And if it's an email that also applies to play, you would need to drag another copy to play. And if you're familiar with those programs, these then are taking up space on your hard drive because you are storing two separate copies. And to keep your foldering system to really work, you need to make those separate copies. So that's what happens here. Let's contrast the left-hand side. You got an email that comes in. It comes into your inbox. You label it to be family and play. You never have to label anything all mail. It's on there by default because that's the main container of all mail. But you apply the label family and play, and you archive it. And archiving automatically takes the label of inbox off of that email because it's no longer in your inbox. You have archived it, which means not that you deleted it. That's a totally separate function. You archive it, which just basically takes inbox label off of the email, leaves it in all mail, and then applies whatever labels you have added, so family and play. But there's only one copy of the email, and it has got labels attached to it. And as you'll see when we walk through the example here, this is going to end up looking a lot like folders, but it is more efficient, and you're able to deal with each email one time, apply one or more labels to that single email, archive it, you're done, and now you can find it in a variety of different ways depending on how you labeled it. And of course, you've always got Gmail's powerful search. Now, in a traditional email program, you have the initial email come into your inbox, and then if you had a folder over here that was called family and another folder called play, and let's say the email applied to both, it's about a family gathering for racquetball. That's a terrible example. To go bowling, family bowling. So you decide you want to file that in the family and play. Well, you would need to take the copy of the email and drag it over to the family and copy it there, and then take another copy of it and copy it to your play. It's inefficient. You've had to take two steps. You've had to do some unnecessary dragging and dropping, and you've got two copies of the email hanging around. And if they've got attachments, I really want to point that out. If you've got attachments, let's say there are pictures or heaven forbid a video attached to the email, and you're making multiple copies, you are chewing up hard drives, which is of course why Gmail, since they give you 15 gigabytes of storage for free, they're trying to be as efficient as possible, so they went with labels because they only have to keep a copy of the email once, and then they just attach labels to it, and that gives you all the convenience of foldering without the inefficiency of dealing with it and managing it. So let's see how this looks in practice. I just thought it'd be good to go through some of the quote-unquote theory comparisons first. All right, we're going to look here at our sample account here, a test account of Jane Smythe, and she has received 3 different emails. One of the things I'd like to do first off, if this is the default, I believe this is now probably for all of you the default setting in Gmail, where you have got the 3 tabs across the top, and you may have more, but primary, social, promotions. This is Gmail's attempt for default users to give them the ability to have their email automatically sorted. And I do mean automatically. Google is taking some liberties here and not only reading your emails and looking at them when they come in to determine whether they should be, whether they're legitimate email and should come to your inbox at all, or whether they should go to spam, but also whether they are, primary emails, whether they're social related, or whether they are promotions. Given the power of filters, I don't see the need to try and do both filters and categories. If you really love categories and want to add filtering to it, be my guest. I think it creates unnecessary confusion. I'll be sharing a link to an article about how to try and manage all of these things together. And if you're like me, you read about a third of the way through it. And for me, I was pretty much committed to labels anyway. And when I read the article about how to try and add categories into it, it's just too confusing. So if you're me, if I was you, probably a better way to say it, I would come up here to settings in my Gmail and see this configure inbox. This is where you can actually get rid of these tabs. So you can just say, I don't want to do promotions. I don't want to do social. It leaves you with primary. You can't uncheck that, but you end up then without any tabs. It just treats it now as an inbox. And you can always go back and turn that back on if you'd like to do that. And you can even add in updates and forums. But again, I say just say no to categories. Just stick with labels. All of your emails show up in the inbox here, and now you can deal with them as you like. So with that out of the way, let's dive into creating labels. Well, you can create labels in a couple of different ways. Probably the easiest way off the bat is to do it as you get emails and start thinking about how you want to categorize them. And using our example before of family, work, and play, I've tried to give myself some sample examples here. We've got one that came in here from Pip the dog. I have a dog named Pip, and she's sent me an email here saying, take me out for a run. If you can, as you see across the top here, you've got an icon called labels. Yep, that's right, just what you would think. So when you're in an email, you can label it very quickly. And if you don't have a label that applies, you want to create one on the fly, that's perfectly fine. You say create a new one. This is a play related email, and I'm going to go ahead and say create that. And by creating it while I'm in this email, you can see now that I've got the label play attached or applied to the email, as well as inbox. And you can look over here on the left hand side and see that there is now a label called play. And if you want to think of these as folders instead of labels, that's fine. But just bear in mind, this is not like folders that you're used to. And if we click now on the play label, we can see that indeed, look, I can now see the Pip the dog email all by itself in here, because it's right now the only email that I have the play label applied to. You can see it also still shows me that it has an inbox label applied to it. So let's pop back into the inbox for a second. You can see I've still got Pip the dog in the inbox. And if I want to change that, I can click it, select the email, and I can choose to archive it. Or if I'm in the email, I can just choose to archive it from here, either way. Now I archive it, it has gone out of my inbox, but as we discussed before, it's not gone, it's just out of the inbox. By archiving it, Google has removed the inbox label, and you can see here now there is no label on this called inbox, because the only label applied is play. So I can always go back and look at all the emails in my play labeling or folder at any time I want, and I've cleaned up my inbox in the meantime. Let's do another one here for work related. Some month-end reporting needs to be done. I want to create a new label here called work. And you can see that the label is applied. Now for helping out with visually seeing things in your inbox, you can come now over here. You can see we've got the work label, and work things are fairly important. So I'm going to go ahead. You see how this little down arrow shows up on the label. If you select that, you can do a variety of different things. For now, I'm just going to apply this little red label with white text. And you can see now the label shows up. And if I'm looking at a long list of emails, I will very quickly be able to spot items applying with a certain label on them and help me just visually identify things in my inbox as I go. And if I go to the work, yep, there it is. There's the work email. You can see it's still got the inbox label on it. I can open it up and I can archive it as we discussed before. In this particular case, you can also, instead of archiving it, you can just hit the X to remove the label. You can see the conversation's been archived. You can undo it if you like. This will go away after a few seconds, but you do have a little period of time to undo that. Now we've slowly been cleaning up our inbox. This is great. We've been organizing our emails into their labels, and now we've got a family event coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new one for this. Call this family, and off I go. Come over to family and say, oh, family stuff. I love family stuff. I want to see that. That's green. That's a happy thing. And I can go ahead and archive it. And I'm cleaning up and organizing as I go. And let's see, Google Plus, add a profile. That's just annoying me, so I'm going to delete that, and off it goes. And as you can see, that's now over here in trash. There we go. Off in trash. So that's just a quick and dirty of labels, how to create them, how to assign them. You can get more complicated, as we saw before. If I've got an email here for the celebration, if I decide, you know what, I also really want to keep that in the play area as well, I can just click that. Now that's a little interesting thing to discuss here. If I click the box, notice how the labels stay open, so I could click other ones if I wanted to. And if I want to apply them, then I hit the apply button. If you don't hit the checkbox, so let's say I don't have play checked, but I want to add it. You can simply, if you're just going to add the one label, you can just click it instead of the checkbox, and it immediately just applies the label to it without having you have to also then click the apply button. Minor little thing, but every little click removed from your day gives you more time for other things. And you can now see that when we go to play, now you can see that I've got the email here about the birthday celebration in the play and the family. And then when I'm in play, I can see that the other label applied to it is also family. As you can see, there's some nice power there to it. The ability to apply multiple labels is very important and handy. Being able to visually see and identify the label on an email will help you just visually scan through your inbox or your all mail. In this case, you can see that it's very easy for me to spot my work and my family emails, even in the midst of all this otherwise confusing clutter. All right, that's it for labels. Next time we'll be talking about, or later in this series, we'll be talking about how to use filters so that as emails come in, your Gmail could go ahead and make intelligent decisions based on your instructions, not Gmail's best guess, your literal instructions of how to automatically apply labels to emails as they come in, which further reduces how much any time you need to spend managing or labeling emails as they come in. They'll just automatically appear properly labeled as you want, so that work stuff just shows up with the work label, easy to see here in red, and the family stuff shows up easy to see in green. Join us next time when we talk more about getting your game together and taking the field with Gmail.